Vodacom and Maziv's 13.2 billion rand merger has finally been approved. But behind the regulatory green light is a story about ideological collapse, courtroom drama, how fibre policy in South Africa quietly did a U-turn without anyone really admitting it. This merger was initiated in 2021, but you have to go back to 2018 when then Communications Minister Stella Ndabeni-Abrahams promised to reshape telecoms with a radical idea, the Wireless Open Access Network, or the WOAN. It was meant to be a single state-backed wholesaler that would make the market fair, lower prices, and get everyone connected. By 2022, that dream was dead. It had no backers, no working business case, and no global precedent. In short, it was an ideological project that couldn't survive economic gravity. I was a big fan of the WOAN, but Ndabeni-Abrahams was shuffled off stage left after Cyril had to suspend her following that infamous 2020 social media post of her at lunch with a fellow parliamentarian, when the rest of the country was in COVID lockdown. Fast forward to July 2025. Instead of building the network itself, government is now letting the biggest telco in the country build it, with concessions and lots of conditions. Hi, I'm Lindsey Schutters, a business journalist at Daily Maverick, who does have a life outside of tracing the courtroom shenanigans of mobile network operator business deals. I promise. Vodacom will get a maximum of 34.9% of Maziv, the parent company of fibre giants Vumatel and Dark Fibre Africa. That gives it serious clout in the wholesale fibre market. But to get here, Vodacom and Maziv had to agree to the most detailed public interest concessions in South African telecoms history. And Remgro, a major shareholder in CIVH, which in turn is the other major power behind Maziv, bro, it's corporate turtles all the way down. They had to do a lot of poverty theatre to prove that they couldn't follow through on Vumatel's lofty Connect the Township's ambitions. The big number everyone is talking about in this deal? 12 billion in capital expenditure, with 9 billion earmarked for new fibre rollouts in low-income areas. 1 million homes passed, free gigabit fibre for every public school, library and clinic along the network's path, and new fixed mobile data access for police stations. The exact number was classified, but apparently it's somewhere between all the police stations in the country and most of the police stations in the country. Dude, that's how the advocates and their learned colleagues described it. That's not my words. Originally, the Competition Tribunal blocked the deal. Their reasons? The merger created a clear monopoly, a point I still stand on. It gave Vodacom too much power and would kneecap smaller ISPs who rely on Maziv's infrastructure. For real, Vodacom would emerge from this with well over a third of the total fibre-to-home market. The closest competitor is OpenServe with just over a fifth. That duopoly would run the table and gobble up all the other players.
If you appreciate this work, support our journalism by becoming a Maverick Insider. You'll find the details in the caption below.
All the numbers are noted in my coverage on Daily Maverick. It looked like the end of the road until the merging parties appealed. But instead of only arguing law, they completely rewrote the script. Restructure the governance, lock in spending commitments, protect pricing for low-income earners, and sprinkle in achieving 90% 5G coverage for the entire population. That's the part where the police station connection will come from. And it's those details that was of particular interest to Judge President Norman Manuam and to journalists like me who have been tracking this story since it was first just a widespread rumor. What should have been a cut and dry legal rubber stamp because the Competition Commission went into the hearing unopposed turned into a full-blown victory lap for the respective DTIC, Vodacom and Maziv Council, gloating about how wrong the tribunal had been. Just a quick shout out to the DTIC's representative Michelle Leroux, who is low-key boss lady out there fighting for the people. But the moment that stuck with me and almost caused me to swerve off the road was when advocate Daniel Berger, counsel for the Competition Commission, let out a determined, "My lord, as an officer of the court, I am duty-bound to commit this statement to the public record." It wasn't a grandstanding moment. It was the last line of defense. After hours of being dogpiled for daring to block this deal, to the point of actually being ridiculed by the judge for wasting the court's time, Berger reminded the court this merger didn't meet the original competition test. The only reason it passed now is because the parties rewrote the rules after the tribunal's ruling, and then Trade Minister Parks Tau joined the court appeal against the very same independent commission that protects his department from being exploited. The facts are that this merger didn't succeed because Vodacom changed. It succeeded because South Africa's policy priorities changed. The country moved from wanting to own the infrastructure to getting it built, even if it meant the usual suspects take control. The Vodacom Maziv deal is the philosophical heir to Stella's WOAN ideology. But where WOAN failed by trying to force fairness through centralization, this new approach uses market power to buy public benefit. It's called regulation by merger, and it might be the only way South Africa can fund its digital dreams. So yes, Vodacom and Maziv will get their deal, but they also got a 5-year compliance muzzle to stop them from taking a bite out of the already struggling consumer and a 12 billion rand invoice to serve public interests. And South Africa? We got the biggest private investment in public connectivity we've ever seen that will spark actual infrastructure build-out that creates real jobs and doesn't involve Starlink. Whether that's a sellout or a smart compromise depends on whether those cables actually reach the people they're meant to serve.